Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Brenda, Wong, Aoki, featuring the Mark Izu Ensemble.
Mukashi. A long, long time ago, there lived in Kyoto a samurai who was reduced to poverty by the ruin of his lord. The samurai had the good fortune of being married to a kind and beautiful wife with clear, fair skin, flushed with the tint of roses, soft brown eyes, warm red lips, and long, luxurious hair, blue-black as the night, shining as the stars, soft as a cloud. It trailed down her back and onto the floor. When they had been rich, she had always been generous and kind. And now that they were poor, she never complained. She only worked hard to uplift his spirits. Day after day, the samurai sat, drowning his sorrows in his sake cup. Well, day after day, his good wife went to the market to sell her jeweled hair ornaments, silken gowns, in order to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. The samurai never noticed how she often went hungry so he could eat his fill. He only sat drowning his sorrows in his sake cup. One day the samurai looked up from his cup and saw there was nothing left in the house. No paintings, no furniture. In fact, the only clothes they owned were the threadbare kimonos on their backs. I lose everything, and now I lose all face by wearing rags. How I wish I had a new kimono. His good wife hung her head in shame. The next day, the samurai awoke at noon as usual, and once again was just about to drink his sake when he heard curious. He followed the sound until he came to a little room where his wife was working. Sliding open the paper door, Gee, garari, garari. He saw her there, with her hair cut short as a little boy's, weaving her long silken tresses into cloth from which to make him a kimono. after day she wove, never stopping to eat or sleep. Until one day, pale and worn, she came out of the little room, carrying the most exquisite kimono. Blue-black as the night, shining as a star, soft as a cloud, this she gave to the samurai.
What kind of kimono is this? It has no crest on it. What kind of samurai would I be without a crest?
My love, we are without a master. We have no crest.
Then make one up! Make me a symbol of great power.
But his good wife had no money with which to buy dye or thread. But she took the kimono back into her little room. And then she bit her little finger until the blood ran crimson. And in the most exquisite hand wrote the symbol for kokoro, heart. This she gave to the samurai.
Why have you written this on my kimono?
You asked for a symbol of great power. The greatest power in all the world is that of a good heart. Nevertheless, he thought that the crest written in blood
Made him look brave. He went out into the street to show himself off. As he was strutting up and down the street, he chanced upon a magnificent procession of 100 bannermen waving purple banners, followed by 300 samurai in full armor. Yoshi! 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 Yoshi!
and all the people in the village were dancing. At the center of the procession, on a white stallion bedecked in gold and jewels, sat a fair maid with long, luxurious hair, almost as beautiful as his wife's had been, laughing eyes and sharp white teeth. My, how handsome you look in that new kimono.
I was just taking a break from my official duties.
Not only are you handsome, but you're official. My father would have use of a man like yourself. My father is the Lord of Nagoya. Come. Become a samurai in his service. Show him your worth.
The samurai could barely contain his joy. He raced back to his poor hovel, where his wife waited and told her, "Draw me a bath. Help me look my best. I now have an important position. With the Lord of Nagoya, I am to leave immediately."
His good wife was heartbroken. Nagoya, so far from Kyoto. But she hid her tears in her threadbare sleeve and did as he asked. When the samurai was dressed, he looked at her and said,
"By the time I come back, make sure your hair is grown. You look like a boy."
And he was gone, just like that. The samurai, being quite an ambitious young man, soon became a high official with the Lord of Nagoya. The maid of Nagoya convinced him to marry her,
Now, a man cannot have 2 wives. So he sent a messenger to Kyoto, telling his good wife, he had divorced her. The date was the 10th day of the 9th moon. He married the maid of Nagoya, but wealth does not make one rich. His new wife proved to have a bad temper. She was quick to anger, quickly flashed those sharp white teeth. She cared not for his happiness nor for his peace of mind. She only cared about new jeweled hair ornaments, sweet rice cakes, and come to bed now, my little official. Show me your worth. The samurai was not quite happy. Months passed. Years passed. The samurai's new wife had long since lost the glow of youth. Deep lines of boredom and disdain were etched into her face. These she covered with a paint they called beignet. Her body had become plump with rice cakes. The only thing that remained of her former beauty were her sharp white teeth. Come to bed now, my little official. Show me your worth. The samurai was miserable. One night, unable to sleep, after showing his worth, he heard Was it a dream? Maybe a servant passing in the night? Suddenly, like the wave of a huge tsunami, the samurai was overcome with longing for his good wife. He remembered her kind, gentle ways. He remembered a kimono made of her hair, emblazoned with a crest written in her blood. The samurai searched for that kimono. Finally, in an old wooden chest, he found the kimono. Blue-black as the night, shining as the stars, soft as a cloud. And he remembered her saying, "This is for you, my love, because the greatest power in all the world is that of a good heart." The samurai marched into his second wife's chambers and divorced her on the spot. "You married me for my money. Now that you have it, now that I'm old and fat, you leave me." "Save your mouth for your rice cakes." And he was gone, just like that. Clad only in the blue-black kimono, riding his fastest stallion, he raced back to Kyoto. The journey was hard. The road had changed. He was no longer a young man. 20 years had passed since he'd last been that way. He reached Kyoto at nightfall. A full moon made everything visible. Following the crooked streets, he came to the little alley where he once lived. He found the house quite easily. It was not the poor but tidy house he remembered. Tall weeds were growing on the roof. The date was the 10th day of the 9th moon. matless. A chilly air blew through the holes in the walls. The moon shone through tears. The house was completely abandoned. Too late. Still, the samurai was determined to search each and every room. Finally, in a room that had once been his wife's favorite resting place, he noted a glow within. Sliding open the paper door, he saw her there. She had not changed in 20 years. Her skin was clear and fair, her eyes soft and warm, her lips red, and her hair, it had grown back again, blue-black as the night, shining as the stars, soft as a cloud, trailing down her back and onto the floor. She looked at him, saying only, "My love." How glad I am to have you back, if only for a moment. Only for a moment, for all eternity. I'm a rich man now. Tomorrow I send for my servants, my money. I swear you'll never suffer again. Oh, ha, ha. She only looked at him and smiled. That night, in what once had been their bridal chamber, they lay down to rest, reaching out over 20 years, their bodies joined as one. When the samurai awoke, sunlight was streaming through the tears in the paper walls. But he found he was not lying on a soft bed, but on a moldy, rotten floor. Was it a dream? Oh, no, there she lay. She was sleeping. He bent to kiss that dear cheek. Lives there? That house belonged to the wife of a samurai. He left her to marry another. Heart broke. She got sick. She died on the 10th day of the 9th moon 20 years ago.
wonderful Halloween weekend. And that first story was, of course, Brenda Wong Aoki. It's called Black Hair. And I'd like to introduce the band. This last piece we played, though, is called Chikara. And actually, that's written by Janice Kooke on taiko. And the other taiko musician is Kathleen Kavanagh. And our wonderful koto player, who's extraordinarily plays traditional and modern music, Shoko Hikagi. Saxophones and flutes, shakuhachi, is Masaru Koga. Someone who doesn't need an introduction. He's been here many times. We've been playing together for, I would just say, a very long time. He calls us ourselves partners in time and crime. This is Anthony Brown. And I just want to thank all the musicians here. We've been having a great time together. It's always nice playing with old and new friends. And Brenda said, why don't we do ghost stories on Halloween at Yoshi's? And we called it. They said, sure, let's give it a try. So we really appreciate your support.
So cool. You know, Mark and Anthony would always go off, and I'd be good hook son, stay home, and wish that I could go to a jazz club too. And while we're at it, I know Yoshi's probably not here, but really we should give it up to Yoshi. It's amazing what Yoshi does. Girls lately.
Yeah.
Our son KK, where are you, KK? He's 16 now. There he is. Where is he? Well, anyway, he's 16 now and he's girl crazy. And then I was telling Anthony just before, the show about how one time he was going out on the road and Georgia, Anthony's daughter, was really little, and I saw her writing something on his drum kit. And I'm like, Georgia, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm going to miss my daddy. He's going on the road, so I'm writing him a secret message. And it said, I love you, Daddy. Oh. And I was thinking, girls are so sweet. They're supposed to be sweet. And, I once was a girl, and I grew up in a house with 5 sisters with a Japanese father. So we were taught to be good girls. And good girls in our house meant that you think nothing of yourself, only of the welfare of others. And, when you grow up, that can be not so good because people can take advantage of you. And I was thinking sometimes good girls, they grow up to be wretched women. In fact, Mark once said, you follow a good girl all the way through and you end up with a martyr. And Mark once told me I should start a club, Martyrs Anonymous, for all the good Japanese-American Chanto good girls. So then I started to think, okay, now if you're a good girl and you don't end up being a martyr, then what are you? And so then I wrote this story because I was trying to exorcise the good girl in me. And I thought, you read those magazines, the lady magazines, and they tell you, take time to breathe and to, smell the roses. And who has time for that? If you're a good girl, you're going to just get behind schedule. And so I was like, what if you took all that energy, that good girl time and energy, and what if you channeled that into yourself, and what would you transform into if you were not a martyr? So this is a story that I wrote about that. It's kind of my Japanese version of women who love too much. Long ago, at the edge of a great forest, there was a modest little inn. The innkeeper had a kind and beautiful young daughter named Kyo. Kyo had been taught, ever since she was a tiny little girl, to think nothing of herself, but always of the welfare of others. So she cooked and scrubbed, working hard every day to bring happiness to those around her. Every night, after serving a visitor supper, Kyo would say, "I hope my humble efforts have pleased you." And the visitor would invariably respond, "Hi, domo, thank you." And Kyo would say, "Your happiness is my happiness." Kyo was at that moment in life when a girl becomes a woman. Her plump, ripe body was in the spring of life, her red lips pouting soft and full, her brown eyes filled with yearning. Some nights when work was particularly tiring, she would fall into the deep slumber of exhaustion and dream her dream of a handsome young man with deep, fathomless eyes. And she would say to him, "I hope my humble
say to her, I don't thank you. And before she could say, you're happy, he would take a step towards her and encircle her in his arms. And his arms were brown and powerful, and they held her tight all night long until they became one. This was her dream. So it was that one day, Anshin, a monk from Dojoji, on a pilgrimage from shrine to shrine, stumbled out of the forest near the inn. The innkeeper, seeing the monk with his begging bowl, invited him to stay and eat. Now Anshin just happened to be a handsome young man with deep, fathomless eyes. And Anshin had been taught, ever since he was a tiny little boy, to think nothing of others, but only of the welfare of himself. So it was, as Kyo was serving Anshin's supper, she was drawn into those deep, fathomless eyes. The poor young man, how sad he looks. I must make him happy. So she sang her song and danced her dance. Na na tsuni na dukonga itai kena koto yuta. Anshin arose from the table. Thank you. And left. That night, Kyo fell into the deep slumber of exhaustion and dreamed her dream of her handsome young man. And he embraced her in his arms, and his arms were brown and powerful, and they held her tight all night long until they became one. Ah! But it wasn't a dream. Anshin? Anshin? Hi, domo. Thank you. And he slipped like a shadow into the night. The next morning, Kyo put on her loveliest purple silk kimono, a gift from her father on her 16th birthday, wrapped a black and silver obi around and around and around her slender waist, and brought breakfast into Anshin. But the room was empty. Anshin gone. The poor young man, unable to pay my dowry, he must have left in great embarrassment. I must go and find him. Tell him he's welcome always. So Kyo slipped on her dainty little feet, her 7-inch platform geta. Sitting out on the path after Anshin, Kyo was a lovely sight. Catching up to him, she said, Anshin, oh Anshin, please, don't be ashamed of your begging bowl. Come back to the inn, renew your strength. Your happiness is my happiness. And he seemed to take a step towards her. Kyo remembered the night. The blood rushed to her face. But instead of taking her in his arms, he turned abruptly and continued down the path. Wait, Anshin! She followed. Branches tore her silken gowns. Her hair ornament. Those platforms. Woo! 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 Down a steep ravine. When she looked up, Anshin was standing over her. His eyes seemed full of worry and concern. Oh, Anshin, my Anshin, don't worry about me. Now that we're together, I feel no pain. I have taken a vow of celibacy. Go back to your father where you belong. You threatened my purity. But what about last night? Pretend it was a dream. Oh, yes, 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 a dream. Pretend it never happened. No. Let go. No, I'm yours now. I can't let go. Let go. Please, I'm ruined. I'm yours. Let go. No. Let go. No. Ah! He loves me. He does. It's just that he has a hard time expressing it. Holding back such passion could drive him mad. With the image of Anshin burning in her mind, she climbed up out of the ravine. Branches tore her face and grabbed her hair, and she fainted. You are at the gateway of Jigoku, hell. He who passes here will lose his soul to a lower life form. Anshin. Anshin is nothing. He is an illusion. Wake up. Wake up from the dream. Before you are lost for 100 existences. Then Kyo looked around her. And for the first time, she heard the song of the cicadas. And she felt the wind sighing through the pines. And then she looked and saw that her kimono, the gift from her father, was in tatters. And then she looked and saw Anshin. Without thinking, she ran after him. Help me! Cried Anshin, as he finally arrived at the famed temple of Dojoji. His brother monks saw Anshin being pursued by a woman. Her eyes bulged in their sockets. Saliva hung on her lips. Her hair began to fall out in long, black, tangled clumps. And she could only hiss in cackles. mighty boom! The Ancient safe within its thick bronze walls. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. In rushed Kyo.
Flowed over it. Her purple robes glittered with 1,000 golden scales. Long flames burst from her lips. Her tender legs closed forever and became the long, sinuous tail of a magnificent serpent. About the bell of Dojoji, and with her serpent's tail, she lashed it, and lashed it, till the bronze was red hot. Still she lashed it, while the monk Arjun cried piteously for mercy. All night long, the cicada sang, and the wind sighed in the pines, but the snake woman was upon the bell of Dojoji, and furiously she lashed it, and lashed it, with a tail, until in the morn, the monks found it a relief that the magnificent serpent had disappeared, never to become human again. When the bell was cool enough to touch, they lifted it. All that remained of Arjun was all that he was, a little pile of black ash.
Thank you, that was Brenda, Wong, Aoki. And we're going to play one more song for you today. And it's called Threading Time. This is dedicated to my sensei, he's a Gagaku master from Japan. He recently, several years ago, he moved back to Tokyo where he retired. And when he retired, he announced that he had cancer. So we're all very worried for him. And he was given 2 years, and it's been about, I think, 5 years now. And Brenda and I were able to go to Japan and see him. We were there for 5 months on a residency, and he was just in such incredible spirit. He was still teaching, and he was very happy to see us and happy that we are carrying on his tradition. He basically, I think I owe him, my career, because when I heard the Gagaku and he started teaching me, it definitely altered my way of thinking about music. I just recently called him just 2 days ago, and I talked to his wife, and they're very worried about him now. About 6 months ago, he was on morphine, and usually that's a real bad sign. But I called him, and they said, "Oh, he's not taking morphine anymore." I said, "Oh, that's great news." But then they said, "Well, actually, because the cancer has attacked his nerves, and so he doesn't feel as much." But he's very lucid, so he says, "Please talk to him." He loves to talk to everyone right now. And they won't say how long he has, because every time they say it, he outlives everything. He says he's going to get better. He still is really determined, so I want to dedicate this song to him. This is called Threading Time.